Hi everyone, it's Ted here and Kate from Unpacked, coming to you for our third full episode plus the pilot, if I'm correct. Today you're going to be talking about Alexa Plus, which is the new announcement as of last, I think Thursday or Friday, so end of February.
hmm
A new announcement on the Alexa kind of tool and AI kind of integration, and basically just massive update on Alexa. I think definitely some crossover and influence that will have on shopping and things. So keen to explore that. But
Um, so I guess a bit about why we are going to talk about Alexa Plus today. As Ted explained, at the end of February, Amazon unveiled their new Alexa offering. They shall be upgrading her from standard Alexa to Alexa Plus. This will come out in the US first. So it will be unveiled to numerous accounts over the next kind of 2 to 3 weeks. And then there'll be a big wave over the next couple of months where it will be available to all customers. It's currently $18.99, which is extortionate, or it is free to current Prime members. Um, we don't have a date for that to come to the UK yet, but I assume, like most things on Amazon, it will probably be like towards the end of Q3, Q4. They'll wait to roll out in the US, see what data comes back, and then we shall be treated to it, which is really exciting. Um, I guess to kind of set the scene, we and give you the basics. So Alexa was originally launched in 2014. She was the third AI voice assistant to be launched. So first came Siri with Apple, then Cortana, and then finally Alexa. There are 6 million Alexa devices out in the world. And currently, the kind of thing that Amazon are really pushing with Alexa Plus is she's smarter and she's more personalized. I feel like there's always concerns around, Alexa's always listening, etc., etc. And it almost feels like they're really playing into that with the fact that she's going to become more personalized. But obviously, they know that that's such a great selling point. So I think it will be really interesting as to how they kind of market the security around it, um, as to what's next. And I guess before we dive into it in a bit of a deeper analysis, one really interesting thing about Alexa Plus is she is very quick. So the voice search results load 52% quicker than a regular search result, which I think is extraordinary. And absolutely plays into the fact that she is definitely built to be more convenient, which we know is kind of Amazon's main pillar. And she's absolutely there to state this kind of upgrade from what she was doing previously.
yeah, that's super interesting, and I think it highlights probably the different tech and things that they're using.
Mm.
Obviously, it is voice and audio, so people expect a faster result. And we were talking about this when we were like researching this. Is I remember when Siri or yeah, I don't what is the does the Google one have a name? But Google, the response rate on audio, it still is pretty slow, and
Yeah.
like it's a massively off-putting element to like actually using these things. So yeah, that will be massive, and I think the tech that they're using and the idea around it will definitely filter into what Amazon are using for Rufus, and it will also then influence Claude and ChatGPT and all of these kind of things in getting the results faster, because otherwise people will just resort to using voice and Alexa and things, which is probably slightly part of their play.
Mm.
But yeah, it's exciting, and we'll talk. I'm keen to discuss what you think around the shopping element of it and whether there'll be any crossover or influence there.
I think, with how Alexa directly correlates to the Amazon shopping app, I guess, that all plays into simply the fact that it's voice search. I don't think there'll be any specific changes that will find their way onto the shopping app as a result of Alexa Plus. I think it will simply be, and as they keep saying, she's smarter, she's more personalized. That just means that she's going to be housing more data than ever. And I guess it's that part where we'll see the changes start to trickle through to the likes of seller and vendor and different advertising and targeting capabilities. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if there's any kind of direct changes as a result of layout or anything like that. But I think most of it will be in the data.
Yeah, I think that was the key bit. It will be like a little, it will be a trickle down effect. So
Mm,
even the pricing, so it's very much a push to get more people on Prime, if they're not already. And it'd be very weird, I think, if you had an Alexa anyway but weren't an Amazon Prime member. So yeah, they're clearly trying to encourage people to buy it because it's like a cool bit
mm.
of tech, and then trying to push them onto Prime as well. So there'll be a trickle down from that, but I mean, we're talking minuscule numbers and effects on sales for brands. And then yeah, I mean, just the convenience of it. They often sit in people's kitchens and living rooms and sometimes bedrooms and things like that. So the ability to ask it to buy you something is going to become easier. And if it does become quicker and smarter and that kind of thing, then I think the recommendations and the usage of it to buy more stuff will pick up. But again, I think it's impossible to see the split of sales by device beyond
Mm.
mobile and desktop. So to be able to see how many of those come from Alexa, yeah, I don't know how you do that, but again, you'd probably expect that to pick up slightly off the back of this, especially in certain categories.
I think the convenience part is really interesting because we know that's like Amazon's bread and butter essentially. But I feel like for me, Alexa has always been kind of similar to Amazon with fashion. Like they've tried so hard, but it's just never really worked. And I was really surprised when they started investing in Rufus because it felt like they hadn't really cracked Alexa. So that was an interesting move, but obviously they've reverted back to Alexa Plus quite quickly. Um, they've onboarded so many different partners now. So that, I mean, they've worked with the likes of Grubhub, which is the US's equivalent of Just Eat, and Uber Eats, etc. They've been working with them in numerous different ways for a while, but they've now integrated them into the Alexa Plus app, so you can essentially just use it to order your groceries, order a takeaway, etc. Like you say, without leaving the app. And I feel like Amazon have done, they've cracked that with shopping. You can order anything you need to be delivered product wise through the app, and have been able to do for years. But it feels like they're finally kind of making their way now into that second phase. And I think it's great. I'm just surprised it's taken them so long, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's the tech again, like the sort of AI piece and the ability to connect things up. But I mean, I know so many people who have Alexas, and maybe initially they use them to like talk to or like use beyond just being a speaker, basically. But then, yeah, it quickly turns into just a speaker to play
Yeah.
music on. And I mean, they're quite good, I think, speakers, but they're not the best. And again, yeah, you're potentially paying a monthly subscription for it and all of that kind of thing. So if they can get people to use them more, then suddenly it does become this additional device and channel from which people can buy stuff, not just on Amazon, as you said, Kate, but like other apps and things like that. So that would be a genuine game changer, I think, because generally I don't think voice assistants are used as much as they were originally intended.
I think I don't know whether they're not used as much as they were originally intended, or it's just Alexa that's not used as much as she was originally intended. I think the fact that you can, because I think you can, I don't have an Alexa, you can have an Alexa app. You can download it on your mobile, etc. I don't know how many people have that. Like you say, I think most people literally just ask it to turn the sound up or turn the sound down. But I think with the likes of Siri, where it's been around so much longer and people use it so much more, I think they do use these voice assistants. I'm just not sure if people use Alexa for that yet.
Mm.
um I was looking at some data, And 18% of people use voice search through a home speaker device, which we would assume is what people are doing with Alexa. Whereas over 80% of people search through tablet or mobile, which I would presume the bulk of that is going to be Siri or Cortana, or I don't think Google's got a name. I think it's just Google Assistant.
Yeah.
Simply because it's it's already there, right? It's already done into your software. You don't really have to download anything. You just activate it. So I think people are using it on a whole, maybe just not Alexa yet.
Yeah. I mean, it's a classic thing with people who do have them. If you go around to their house or whatever and you're chatting and something comes up, like a stat or a question or something that you want to confirm, and they'll ask Alexa at that point.
Yeah.
So I think it's used, but yeah, I feel like they all came out and they were meant to be assistants, right? Like they were meant to help you and I don't know, help you plan your day or yeah, sort your laundry out or whatever it might be. But they never really did that, or definitely people didn't use them for that for whatever reason. I think probably because it's still easier to do it, not like on your mobile or tablet or whatever. So yeah, if they can pull this off and it makes it easier, then it could be massive in terms of a bigger shift towards voice, voice search, voice shopping, and their actual sort of ability to be genuine assistants, which is sort of I feel where the ChatGPT Claude piece is going slightly as well. They Claude ChatGPT I think talk about like agents. So these I guess sort of slightly like pre-programmed ChatGPT apps basically that can do certain things for you. Whether that could be like I don't know, creating Amazon product titles or creating LinkedIn posts or whatever it might be. And so actually getting the tech and making it useful. But yeah, going back to your point, it's crazy how long it's taken any of the voice activated apps or products, including Alexa, to like actually get to that point, which yeah, I feel they were originally intended to do, but it's just taken ages.
I feel like, and you've mentioned like the term a couple of times, assistant, like that's mentioned so many times in their press release. They are really doubling down on that. And I think you're right. It's trying to play a similar part, exactly like you say, to the likes of Claude and ChatGPT. They want to, for you to use it to schedule schedule meetings in your diary, tidy up your emails. They talk about kind of using it in your day-to-day family life, which I think is also interesting. And also one thing that I think will definitely kind of increase the amount of people that are using it, and one thing that I've always struggled with Amazon, is it stores all of your data across multiple devices. So if you're talking to, I don't know, Alexa in the kitchen, and then you log on to your laptop the next day and you want to pick up whatever actions you have, it stores it across everything, which I think is really useful and something that it's difficult to do with the likes of Siri and Google Assistant, I think.
Yeah, because it sits out slightly outside the hardware kind of ecosystem a bit. Although it obviously has its own hardware in the speaker. I mean, I'm assuming they will also push out, which they do semi-regularly, a whole load of new Echo products as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that just thought on that just popped into my head. If they do that this year, that they normally launch them around the Prime Day, Black Friday window, so there might be a lot of even more buzz around those events with those products going live as well. But that is very
Yeah, I think
much
this
a potential idea. I don't think there's been any confirmation on that yet.
I think this was a really interesting time to launch it, because they're going to start kind of rolling it out across the next couple of weeks with a hard launch in the next kind of 3 to 4 months, which obviously leads us right into Prime Day. So I guess kind of sign up for Prime Day, and get free Alexa Plus for a year or something, a bit like they do with, like Apple does for the likes of Apple Music. I feel like that will be a great way to get people in. And anyone that, like, I think it is a great selling point for someone who's not yet a Prime member, like to be able to have access to that. It definitely creates a buzz. I think even outside of the industry, right, like everyone is interested in AI at the moment. it's a good reason to sign up, I think.
Mm. And I think, yeah, there'll be people who love all these tools and things will want to check it out. So they'll definitely
Mm,
attract those kind of people, and then they'll talk about it with friends and family, and there'll be that like adoption of it, I guess. But also the text there. I mean, so many people do have Alexas, even if they don't really use them or they're just using them as speakers. So for that to then suddenly upgrade to something that is potentially more useful, it is
mm.
you'd assume there'd be a decent pickup of it just naturally through that. But again, if they're people are already not used to using the speaker in that way, then how do you change that behavior? Um, I don't know what the answer to that necessarily is, but obviously upgrading the service is a good step towards that.
I think one thing that I found quite ironic is, I mean, Amazon's like app and like general like e-commerce site, every like brand, wants to have that. And are constantly upgrading their sites and their apps to replicate Amazon. And actually now it's Amazon that's upgrading, their app because they're not happy with it. So they're recreating the whole Alexa app and ecom site. So I think again that's like something that plays into like they just never got it quite right. Like I've downloaded the app before, literally a couple of days ago when we were researching it, and it's just not. It doesn't scream Amazon, right? Like it's not easy to use. It's not convenient. It feels bulky. Um, so I think the fact that again like that is coming through with this new launch is really interesting. It just shows again like they never got it quite right, I guess.
Yeah, I might have a slightly different view on the Amazon website. I still think it is. I definitely think from a selling point of view, it is obviously great, and it's how people use it is so kind of ingrained in like e-commerce
Mm,
culture and things like that. But there's so much stuff on there that people aren't even aware of from a customer perspective, even aware of that
100%.
it is sort of semi-useless. Um, yeah, that they've just, someone internally's gone and said, oh, this would be a great idea, and then they go and launch this thing, and it never really takes off. I think Alexa Plus is definitely different. Like this is a massive game changer. I don't know what the equivalent
Mm.
would be like on the e-commerce store, but it would be like a massive redesign of the e-commerce store. Um, which, they've never really done it. So the e-com store has always been slowly. Occasionally, you see a good LinkedIn post which has a screenshot of every homepage since like 1999, and yeah, actually, not much has changed in the past like 15 years. But yeah, this is big, and I think what you were saying around the partner like apps and stuff is probably the most important bit,
Mm.
um, because I think definitely in the US, Europe, maybe slightly less in like China, where they've got what's it, the kind of everything app that connects WeChat, that connects
We
everything
chat,
up.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, we have lots of different integrations. So in the UK, there's Uber Eats, there's Just Eat, there's Deliveroo, all these services and things like that. So to be able to do some of the things that it needs to be able it's saying it's able to do, it needs to connect up with loads of different services and
Mm.
tools and things like that. So if they can pull that off and it works, and you're not having to like constantly log in and log out of stuff, and it stays connected, then yeah, it'd be really cool.
I feel like, and I always get nervous saying this, but I feel like it has to work. Like anything they turn their hand to, apart from standard Alexa, like worked incredibly. So I feel like this is them just cracking it, I guess.
You
But
say
it'll
that
be interesting.
when I worked there, it was always they always talked about the Fire Phone. Do you
Oh,
know about that? So Amazon launched a phone like a sort of iPhone equivalent. And yeah, I think it absolutely tanked. And no one bought it, and all of this kind of thing. And it's always held up as they're quite proud of it internally as like something that they tried and it didn't work, and they learned from it and moved on. But it was a massive, massive flop, basically. Uh, but I think it helped with things like Alexa, so that
Mm.
team, I mean, I'm sure lots of them got fired, but that a lot of that team, that the expertise then, yeah, moved into some of the home devices. Um, but yeah, not everything goes right for them. Um, what do you think? Yeah, I guess what do you think about the effect on the e-commerce thing? We spoke about it a bit before, but
I think I think the main thing will just be, surely all of the data they all of the data that they'll be getting from this, they'll just slowly kind of trickle out to improve our targeting options from a seller and vendor and an ad side. I mean, I feel like we have access to barely any customer data, and this feels like a complete game changer. So I would really hope that that would be something, and would be ideally the biggest change. I think there'll obviously be like, the focus on keywords, because everything's now going to be a voice search. Keywords will be something that I guess become like more important than ever. Obviously, it's one of the biggest kind of things you can flex in Amazon to increase your ranking, etc. But it feels like that's kind of going to be taken to a whole new level. The same with your images, making sure that you've got keywords embedded in there in the back end with your A plus content, etc. I feel like that's going to become more important than ever. But I think for me, it's the data part. I think will be interesting.
mhm. Yeah, and off the back of that advertising which you mentioned, you can do a bit of Alexa advertising, but maybe with the cost of this, there's not going to
Mm.
necessarily be so much advertising on it, and obviously the format would need to be super kind of slick and not like you can't just have random ads coming on in your house um like at random times of the day. So how they integrate that into the experience, if they do at all, it would be interesting. I think it, there will be, or there could be a bit of a sync up between Rufus, which Kate mentioned earlier on the podcast, but that's their Amazon's new sort of search format, and again, very much driven by the rise of ChatGPT and that kind of thing. And it's a bit more like how you would search for stuff on Google. So you're going to be typing in, you know, to Google, I want to know about the top 5 shampoos for dandruff or whatever it is,
Mm.
into Google, and you can now do that more on Amazon using Rufus and this AI tool. And I guess that would be how you would talk more to Alexa and kind of think about ordering stuff on Alexa. So definitely optimizing towards, well, any brand like potentially wanting to get ahead on this. I think still optimizing towards Rufus, which you should be doing anyway,
Mm.
will probably help with Alexa's sales as well, if you can ever see those on the Amazon side.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see how products are recommended. Like I was speaking about this earlier, and will it just be, top sellers, or will it be Amazon's choice, or will sponsored products or sponsored brands come into it? I just feel like unless you're, literally number one in the category for that search, I don't understand, or you're being very descriptive in what you want. So you might not just want a shampoo, you might want a vegan shampoo or a sulfate free shampoo. In which case you'll likely see other brands come recommended. I'm not really sure how the smaller guys will get their slice of the pie. I guess that's so much easier to get in search. I'd like to think that sponsored listings will still be a thing on voice search. Otherwise, it will be tricky.
Yeah, maybe that's how it would work. So if you're sponsored and you're at the kind of top of the page, top of the search,
Mm.
when Alexa kind of does its search on in your category or for whatever you've asked it for, then maybe it recommends that. But yeah, I would definitely be worried about not being ranked very near the top, because this
Mm.
feels like it would be the easiest way to get Alexa to work on product recommendations would be to pick the top 2 or 3 as suggestions, particularly if you're asking it like, can you recommend me 3 options or something? It's probably going to pick the top 3. So
Yeah.
it's going to be easier if you are at that stage to break away. Again, I think you've got to think about product category as well. So definitely like household products, I feel this naturally lends itself to, particularly if there's one, yeah, by the kitchen sink or something, you're ordering washing up liquid or yeah, dish brushes or whatever it might be. Um, so those kind of categories, I think it lends itself quite well to. Um, where there is already such a big disparity between the top sellers and the
Mm.
rest, it's very hard to be a challenger brand in those spaces on Amazon as well as everywhere else. Um, so yeah, tricky, and like we won't know. It'll be very hard to know, but yeah, definitely some things you could work on, such as optimizing towards Rufus.
Definitely. And I think it'll be a lot more clear by the time we get to Prime Day in July for anyone who's got US accounts or looks after US sellers or vendors. And then I feel like for Black Friday and Prime Day fall for the UK, that will probably be again when we start to kind of see what changes will be coming. It'll be yeah, an interesting one to watch, I think.
Hmm. Then yeah, ads briefly spoke about. I think there'll hopefully be ads to get to the top of suggestions on Alexa,
Mm.
but yeah, and then also ads on the platform, whether that comes through sponsored or maybe DSP, so they're a bit more like premium and therefore and also attract the more premium brands who can afford to do DSP advertising. I don't know, but I'd be very surprised if they didn't back it up with an advertising option, particularly if they're offering it for free to Prime members who pay their subscription and have to see ads.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be just like they did with like the Fire TV stuff. It will be, Alexa Plus opportunities. Um, and yeah, interesting you spoke about premium brands. One of the partners that they are bringing on to Alexa Plus is Pandora, which I found really interesting. As a brand, they've been doing like almost like a rebrand recently, but yeah, I thought that was an interesting partner out of sort of everyone that's affiliated with Amazon to bring on. But like you say, it could be an edge to kind of moving towards slightly more premium partners.
Well, and I guess uh, yeah, if you link up your app or store directly with Alexa, then it's not just going to scrape the Amazon ecom store for suggestions. It can also scrape your
Yeah.
actual store. Uh, so yeah, again, you might get preference that way, but I think Pandora would have this and other brands like that, but you'd have to have a very sophisticated store and be
Mm.
pretty well known brand to be able to sort that partnership out.
There's lots of, and I was looking at, they've released like a top 50 things you can do with Alexa Plus. And a lot of that was focused around Prime TV and Prime Video. So I think again that just again from a seller or vendor or agency perspective, that just kind of gives more power to those DSP opportunities. I think specifically around the likes of Prime Video, because that seems to be again where they're really pushing like personalized recommendations, etc. Which again, like Netflix, Disney, they've kind of already cracked, I guess.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and we should definitely do an episode on that, but talking about broad retail media and the sort of rise
Mm.
of that DSP, obviously very much the heart and of that, of which Amazon obviously offer their own version. But yeah, I think that everything people in that space are talking about very much plugs into yeah what we've just mentioned and the opportunity to potentially advertise on Alexa. Any closing sort of remarks or points?
Um, just that I'm really excited to see what happens with it. For me, like I say, it's the same as fashion. Like they have to get there eventually. I'm just interested to see what comes next. Um, I'm not sure if it will make me buy one of their Echo Dot things yet. I'm not convinced, but I'm interested to see what happens.
Yeah, same. It was nice having an announcement, which didn't mean that anyone working in Amazon suddenly needed to like do a whole lot of work as well to completely change their listings or
Yeah.
advertising strategy or something like that. And it's one that, yeah, I think people will talk about and see what the effects will be over time. But yeah, before you can make any decision at this stage, I think wait until some of the data comes through and see what data is actually available
Mm.
from Amazon side, and I'm sure there will be some. But yeah, super interesting, one to watch. Thanks everyone for listening. As always, if you can like and subscribe, we're on Spotify now. Definitely some other platforms. We're still figuring out which ones. And we load up the video and things on YouTube, and between the two of us, post on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, thanks for listening, and catch us next week.
Thanks.